My name is Amber Peterson, and today I want to talk about Piaget's cognitive development theory. The foundation of this theory is Piaget's belief that children are born with an innate tendency to interact with and make sense of their environment. This is clear when one observes a toddler. When a toddler experiences something new in their environment, the first thing they're going to do is want to grab it or put it in their mouth. And this is because they are like sponges. They are trying to absorb everything around them, and they learn from everything that they experience. And when they experience something new, they have to use past knowledge, or what Piaget called schemes, to figure out what the new thing is. As I mentioned before, a toddler tries to understand new things by applying them to existing schemes. This is why when they interact with something new, they are likely to grab it, maybe put it in their mouth, or bang it around, because this is the only way they have learned to interact with their environment and figure out what it is. If it doesn't fit into an existing scheme, it can be very confusing to the child. They might either modify their existing scheme to fit the new information, or they will try to understand the new object through what is called assimilation, which just means that the child will understand the new object in terms of an existing scheme. When I think of a child trying to use an existing scheme to understand something new, I think about my niece. When she was about 3 years old, she noticed the full moon for the first time. The only round things that she had any experience with was balls, so she was convinced the moon was this big ball that she wanted to play with, and every full moon we had to go out and chase it. She eventually realized she could not catch the moon, and had to modify her existing scheme through accommodation, which just means that she learned that not everything that is round is a ball for us to play with. Piaget proposed that there are stages of development. The first stage is sensory-motor, and it lasts between birth and 2 years of age. During this stage, children move beyond their innate reflexes to goal-oriented movement, such as grasping something and pulling it down to them when they want it. They also begin to grasp object permanence, which is the understanding that objects exist even when they aren't there. So that game of peekaboo is probably a little less exciting. The next stage is pro-operational, and it lasts from about 2 to 7 years of age. During this phase, children develop their language skills and they're able to think in a more developed way. Anyone who's had a conversation with a 2-year-old knows that they have learned a ridiculous amount of words in a short time. But although their thinking is more developed, they still remain very egocentric and centered, which means they are still unable to understand when someone thinks differently than them, and they can't really see both sides of a conflict. The next stage is concrete operational, and it lasts from 7 to 11 years of age. Here, during this phase, they are able to think a little more logically, and they can see both sides of a conflict, which helps them at problem solving, and they become a little less egocentric. The final stage is formal operational, and it lasts from 11 years of age to adulthood. So during this stage, we are able to think more abstractly and consider real and hypothetical situations. So we can take on problems that exist and problems that are just proposed. A little while ago, I was babysitting my nieces and my nephew when they decided to play a trick on him. They had seen a video on YouTube where a family convinced their grandmother that she was invisible and immediately wanted to recreate the prank with my nephew. They put a lot of work into convincing him that he was invisible and began acting like they couldn't see him. My niece proclaimed, "Where did he go? He must be gone." To which my nephew smartly responded, "Just 'cause you can't see me don't mean I'm gone. I'm right here." My nephew knew he existed whether anyone could see him or not. So what is wrong with Piaget's theory? The biggest criticism is that his idea is that development precedes learning, when development and learning should go hand in hand. Most skills in life are either learned by observation or by being taught, and his theory just doesn't take that into account. He believed that development is fixed, and the ideas of conservation mentioned in his theory cannot be taught, when most things are taught as we grow up.